A month or two ago, the British Film Institute in London showed the 1977 print of Star Wars with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy in attendance. To the press, this was an excuse to witter on about how tatty it looked. I, on the other hand, got to reminiscing about my backpacking days, when I stood in Ben Kenobi's doorway, slept in Luke Skywalker's homestead, inspected the chicken wire holding the Phantom Menace sets together, and stupidly rode into the Sahara on a rented moped. Let's start with a confession. I don't qualify as a Star Wars fan. Like every 9-year-old in 1977, I queued down the block for a space opera that blew my mind and redefined what movies could achieve. 3 years later, The Empire Strikes Back was even more epic, but a lot of what followed was mediocre in my opinion, especially when Disney Plus came along. With little else to do during a 6-week trip to Tunisia in 2002, however, tracking down Star Wars locations was an obvious no-brainer for a sci-fi enthusiast like me. To that end, I even found a now-defunct website, Star Wars Traveller, in which an American couple documented every intergalactic dune, rock and crater with obsessive precision. I assumed I'd bump into a gaggle of British, American and Australian geeks on mildly embarrassing pilgrimages to their childhood fantasies. So picture my surprise when I rolled into Ajim, a fishing port on the island of Jerba, and discovered I was the nuttiest Star Wars fan the locals had seen in months. Struggling to get my bearings, I pored over a map until a confident 12-year-old cyclist skidded up to me. Keen to flex her English in a land of Arabic and colonial French, she fired off the usual questions: name, country, job, then hit me with the cultural sucker punch. "Why aren't you married?" Not having children, she added with concern, was very sad. Sad? Sad? What on earth was she talking about? I was here to find Obi-Wan Kenobi's little stone hermit shack. The Jedi Knight's humble home on the planet of Tatooine sat 3 kilometers outside town on a sandy coastal road. Director George Lucas swapped it for a digital effect in the 1997 special edition, which I understand purists still complain about. Ajim's other claim to sci-fi fame is the Mos Eisley spaceport cantina. Everyone remembers the interior scenes, shot in a studio in England, but the exterior's more of a blink and you'll miss it affair. In fact, I wasn't sure what it looked like until a passing dad, noticing my befuddlement, asked in French if he could help. "Star Wars," I explained with expansive gestures. "You know, Star Wars." He looked puzzled. "Space," I said hopefully, motioning to the clear blue sky above us. "L'espace." "Ah, la guerre des étoiles," he exclaimed with sudden understanding. "The War of the Stars. Trust the French to make even pulp sci-fi sound like a literary masterpiece." Chuckling at my enthusiasm, he put a friendly arm around my shoulders and pointed to a building that was roughly the size of an electricity substation. At first glance, it looked to me like a concrete dome, with a small square toilet block attached to it. The wretched hive of scum and villainy had seen better days. I was much more smitten with the Hotel Sidi Driss, known to film fans as the Skywalker family homestead. For one thing, you could sleep in it and wake up in a movie set. This was in Matmata, whose troglodyte townspeople used to carve circular pits in the earth to escape the desert heat, with cool rooms branching off like wheel spokes. Most residents now live in ordinary houses, but the Sidi Driss achieved Hollywood immortality when Star Wars location scouts stumbled across it. As long as dorks watch films, it'll be Luke, Uncle Owen, and Aunt Beru's place. The Attack of the Clones prequel crew had filmed there recently, so one of the hotel's 2 interconnected courtyards flaunted Flash Gordon-esque decor that looked delightfully silly and cool. As a breakfast spot for nerds, it was unbeatable. I planned to stay for one night only, but clumsily twisted my ankle at Matmata's Troglodyte Museum, forcing me to rest another day. nursing angry red bruises that made walking painful. I propped open my man cave door for air and settled in with a book. Mid-afternoon, two chubby Frenchmen squeezed through the 5-foot entrance to snoop around my room like they owned the place. In the deathless words of Han Solo, I had a bad feeling about this. What Tunisians called a moto, I knew better as a moped. What's more, a roadside business in Tozeur, near the edge of the Sahara, rented these mechanical bad boys out to tourists. In effect, this was my ticket to a gorge nicknamed Star Wars Canyon, where, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the Jawas zapped R2-D2, and the Sand People ambushed Luke Skywalker. The English Patient was filmed here too, as was 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark. But no one gives a toss about those. My Tunisian moto could reach speeds of up to 60 miles an hour, twice that of the British moped I used to putter around on for work several years earlier. After a quick practice session that didn't result in immediate death, I donned a one-size-fits-all rubbery black helmet and hit the desert highway with growing confidence. Near the village of El Mahassan, I turned off the main road to check out the shrines of two Muslim holy men. The marabouts of Sidi Bou Helal and Sidi Bel Abbes stand out like modest Taj Mahals in the empty desert landscape. But my mind was focused on a bleeping trash can droid from the 1970s. Scooting past an industrial plant with steam rising from its chimneys, I parked beneath the larger shrine. A man in work overalls then kindly led me up to it, having appeared from nowhere like a mirage, speaking in the dulcet tones of a Parisian. Despite my insistence that I didn't need a guide, he pointed out which of the two adjacent gorges I was looking for and helpfully snapped a photo of me, with Star Wars Canyon in the background. Clutching a printout from Star Wars Traveller, I then explored the gorge in more detail than was strictly necessary. And while I'm not entirely certain it's the right spot, I took a photo of the bare shelf of rock where I think R2-D2 was electrocuted. A gap in the rocks led back to my faithful moto. I braced myself for the inevitable demand for bakshish, but all the guy wanted was a cigarette from me. I handed him enough cash to pay for a pack. It was the least I could do for a man who'd helped me relive a thrilling 3 seconds of my childhood. With more than half of my 5-hour rental period left, I returned to Tozeur and carried on towards Ankh Jamal, a hill in the desert, shaped at the summit, like a camel's head. Rafe Fiennes establishes a camp here in the English Patient. I'd a hazy notion that sets for the Phantom Menace were nearby. The sandy road, built by the English Patient's crew, rattled my bones like a paint mixer. To make matters worse, 2 people I'd mistaken for tourists at Ankh Jamal turned out to be Tunisian urchins who kept pointing at my pocket. Alone in the desert with a 9-year-old and his teenage brother grabbing at my moped with mounting aggression, I put my foot down and roared towards what I hoped was Tozeur, whooping with relief when a row of traditional Berber tents near the town swam into view. Back at my lodgings, I double-checked the Star Wars fan sites with growing horror. Don't go into the desert without a guide, a 4-wheel drive, and plenty of water, one of them cautioned. Perhaps I should have read the fine print first. Next day, an organised 4x4 tour, miles into the Sahara, brought home what a reckless idiot I'd been. On a more positive note, however, the Phantom Menace sets were sensational. I didn't care that they were held together with chicken wire and swarming with tourists. By suspending my disbelief, I felt like I was on an alien world, even if just for a moment. And how glorious is that? Well, that's my mini travelogue. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe if the mood takes you. Oh, and this is my cloned voice, by the way. It all seems amazingly futuristic to a Generation Xer like me. Bye for now. Oh, before I go, this is Flesh and Blood Me in 2025. Age is a cruel mistress, I know. I just want to say, if you watched this far, you may as well know that I've started a Substack, and it's called Culture Warp, same as this channel. I do like my puns.